Negan loves to brag that he doesn't mind taking a rally, but when he gets imprisoned, now that he's down to 88 million power from battling in KvK, things got a little bit tense. Hello my friends and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and in this video, man, we're in Kingdom versus Kingdom, and Negan, who is one of the kings of 75, is always bold in his claims that he doesn't mind if he gets rallied. Imprison me. Come at me? Well, he was off territory, he got imprisoned, and at 88 million power, that's a little bit low for what they were going to do. So they rallied with Attila and Takeda, which is obviously the combo. I believe another coalition had set a rally at one point, but then cancels it. And Negan was prepared to defend his city. Now, there were a little bit of heroics that went into even getting Negan his garrison captains, because yes, Negan is the kind of player who would teleport to the other side of the world to rally stuff, while his garrison captain was left behind to go and garrison something. Heck, even I was so distracted that I had a rally running and I completely forgot about it. I had to cancel. I'll look at that report and we'll show reports more in depth in a bit. Actually, for not looking at a rally that wasn't getting reinforced, that was not so bad. And now we're back to the action with Negan. Negan, 88 million power. He's getting rallied. He's got a Zeno with Theodora on the wall. Very, very strong combination. Okay? Very strong combination. He's got great gear. He is ready for this. He has been dealing with Attila Takeda for quite some time, and we'll show you the gear that he used for this particular defense. I was in Abe's city when Abe teleported up to bring Negan his garrison captain. I also brought a march and reinforced him. And this is the magic of this imprison that is going to make it go so much differently than pretty much any other imprisoned report you're going to get a look at, which is that we reinforced the ever-living heck out of Negan's city. And when I say we, I mean every alliance and coalition and kingdom came to the aid of Negan, and Negan didn't request that. It just happened. Our allies in Kingdom 16, they made their way over. It was amazing. Our allies in Kingdom 47, they made their way over. It was amazing. Yeah, I mean, this was really a team effort to protect Negan, and it was the right thing to do. Because here's the deal. Reinforcing a city, especially in KvK, is the single most advantaged scenario in the board. I mean, in the entire KvK map, it is the single most advantaged defense you can possibly have. Now, why is that? If you have an actual good captain, like Negan does, that you would have actually used to defend a garrison, you're in great shape. Because not only do you have all of the troops that are in the city, but in KvK, your technology can give you a 3 million boost to your reinforcement capacity. Or I guess a 3 million total reinforcement capacity. It's 2 million base when you're max City Hall and max Alliance Center, and then an additional 1 million from the technology. Anyways, he can have an additional 3 million troops in his city. So he's already got a bunch of troops. And then you put on top of that another 2 to 3 million. I think he stayed reigned at about 2 million or so. Somewhere between 1 to 2 million in reigns. And not only did that deliver an insane amount of punch when Negan was top health, but once he started to lose troops, he already had that damage sort of buffered. Does that make sense? So instead of losing just a ton of his troops right at the start, filling his hospital immediately, it was shared across a ton of people. And by sharing that across a ton of people, his hospital is never going to fill. Even though he starts 88 million power, his hospital is never going to fill throughout this imprisonment. Yeah, that's a big deal. So you can see where this is going. This report's going to be really good. Now, not only can you reinforce like crazy, by the way, here's the counter rally launched by our allies. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Here's the counter rally. Now, if you're defending a flag in KvK, you have some percentage of troops that are going to go and, to your hospital. But I think it's like 25%. But when you're in a city, it's a full 50% that are sev wounds rather than 25%, which means you have less troops die. So defending a city is unequivocally the very best thing to do, and reinforce it like crazy. It's the very best way to kill enemy troops if they have a great captain and you trust them and what they're doing, the gear's on, the talents are right or close to good enough. That'll do the job, and that is what you're watching right now. Now, for those of you who've not been following along, I streamed the last 5 days. I didn't stream today. I should have. Every day I wake up and I'm like, I'm going to get other stuff done. I'm going to do a little KvK and then I'm going to get other stuff done. And then I end up doing KvK for like 8 to 10 hours. And I'm like, oh God, all the other things I need to do today didn't happen. And I should have just streamed today. But anyways, we streamed for like 4 or 5 days in a row. I've sort of lost track. You should go check that out. It's been really, really insane. I mean, absolutely out of control. And we're probably going to stream more stuff tomorrow. In fact, my restart is in Heroic Anthem, and we're about to have battling in Heroic Anthem. I'm probably going to go play that for a while and stream that, and that should be a lot of fun to see. But this, I mean, this is pretty wild. Now, Negan is getting really low. Even though Zenobia is doing healing, his city is getting really low. And at some point pretty soon, I make a wrong call, and I kind of advise, I'm like, you know, if we're keeping Negan's city only full to like 1 million, should we keep stuffing troops into here when the rally is at like, you know, 2.5 or whatever that rally cap was? I think it was 2.5 for this particular player, which is low at this point in the KvK. But people are saying like, I don't know, like, should we continue to fill the seat? I think the answer actually was yes. We should have just kept stuffing Negan with as many troops as people were willing to do. And there is one downside to defending a city rather than a flag, which is that a flag, you could dump infinite troops. A city, you do need to run your troops out to put new troops in. In other words, there can only be one march in the city at a time. So I couldn't go port next to Negan City and like stuff it full of 6 marches worth of troops. It would only be one at a time. And in this case, I was on the other side of the map holding a very strategic teleport spot that, oh gosh, if I leave, somebody from the opposing war camp could go and fill, and it would eat up some of our space there. So I'm holding that strategic position. People are reinforcing Negan. I got my march in there. It's a Guan Alex for whatever it's worth. I kind of wish I'd done a fat march instead, you know, something with a bit more troops in it, but whatever. It's good enough. And soon, we're going to hit that moment, I think, where Negan's going to kick all the stuff out of his city, which is not something like I think he would have run it to the bitter end. He would have been happy. You can see he's no longer in prison. So he can't peace shield because he has the reinforcements in his city. So in order to peace shield, he's got to kick everybody out. And he's only got like maybe 1,000 or so of his own troops left on the table. And this is something, by the way, if you haven't seen when I got rallied in Kingdom 51, I experienced the same thing where my hospital filled up a lot initially when I got rallied. But then I was only filling up a tiny amount because I barely had any troops left. And I was getting reinforced and reinforced and reinforced and reinforced so much that like I could go infinitely and my hospital was never going to fill because there were just such a tiny amount of my troops left in the battle. It was my allies that were losing their troops, and, you know, 50% dead and 50% sev wounds is still a pretty good trade. So here everybody's leaving and getting kicked out. I move my troops out to give Negan the possibility of a bubble, to not lose a few resources. Now, to Negan's credit, he was like, don't send me any resources. I'm fine. I'm perfectly fine. And that's one of the advantages of having not migrated for a very long time. Now, there is this that happened right when the fight ended, by the way. We got hit. I thought it was a fate changer, but we lost so many troops at the end of this fight that the game actually sent us resources. No kidding. This is not actually player sending resources. They make it look like that. The game is sending me resources and speed ups and even troops. I'll show you this in game. So not only is defending a city the most advantaged situation in KvK, I think. I don't think there's a more advantaged way to kill enemy troops, but there's more. The game actually sent back some number of my T5 troops. I know it's a tiny amount. I sent 300 and I don't know, like 70,000 T5s. They sent me back 1,000 as a little gift, and resources and speed ups. That's about 55 hours worth of training speed ups. So not only is it the most advantaged place to kill enemy troops, but the game literally gives you, and I use that word too much, but the game gives you resources and speed ups and troops for doing it, man. Now, on the topic of the reports, this is what you really want to see. How did it go? What has Chisgule been hyping this entire time? And to Negan's credit, I think he wanted to run it longer. And we were like, well, you know, like people are filling, but, you know, I don't know. Is this a good trade? I don't know what's happening. We should have kept going, because here's what happened. 805,000 dead troops. And those are all, by the way, from people that were reinforcing. None of those are Negan's. Now, Negan would have happily had some of his troops die, but that actually would not have been a possibility for Negan in this context. The way that the defense was run, he never was going to have his hospital overflow. There were 0 times where he was at risk of that. And the attackers lost 2.46 million troops. That's an 18.7 million power loss. And the power loss looks about even, but the thing you need to look at is the dead troops, because 1.4 million of our Sev wounds, I mean, those are all coming back as healed troops. It's the dead troops that really are significant in this particular exchange. And if we look at the troop buffs, you can see here, this player, by the way, is a Cav specialist. So whatever they're doing, I would expect to be fairly premium. And you can see 112.5% health is a very premium amount of health, I would believe. I think that's pretty good for cavalry. So they've got really good stats there. You can see Negan's stats as well. But let me go and get for you the gear that Negan had on his Zenobia. All right, here's the gear that Negan is rocking, and it's pretty solid, but man, I mean, it's not perfect. It's really good. I mean, actually, this is really nice. The special talented Shios is really great. He's got really good weapon and gloves and helmet. All that's really fantastic. He's got the special talented horn. Horn's really good. I feel like if he was getting multi-rallied, then the coin is really good. It's just okay in this context. I think it's probably the best thing he had, but it's just fine. I think that in this context, you'd rather have Ring of Doom. That would perform better. I don't know if Negan actually has that, but you can see the gear is really quite good. The only thing I'll say that would be an interesting consideration for Negan in this context would be that he might have gotten more value. And I'm not actually sure because, you know, he does have this special talented for infantry on this gear, but he might have gotten more value using 2 pieces of the Epic Archer set. And the reason that I say that is that it gives you a bonus to stats for all troop types, and he's got all troop types in his city. So I think it's like 2 or 3%, maybe even 3% to all troops. That's 12% total stats. And, you know, you got Siege in there as well. You got to count that. So, I mean, really great gear, really great defense. Let me just take a step back and show you how things are going this KvK. At risk of saying this too many times, for those of you who have not tuned in to the live streams we've been doing, right now we're battling against 2 Imperium war camps. So we are an Imperium war camp. At least before this KvK, the top kingdoms in each of these war camps was Imperium. Now none of us are Imperium. We've all lost so much power. But they started as sort of Imperium war camps, and there are 3 kingdoms in each war camp, okay? So we're battling 3 kingdoms into 6 kingdoms, and 1 war camp has already been weakened very significantly by battling against our allies in a zone where our allies didn't win, but they did really work the defensive meta to make these folks lose a pretty meaningful amount of troops. So we're still battling 2v1, and a lot of people say you can't possibly burn a flag if you don't have the field, and you can imagine battling into twice as many kingdoms makes it kind of hard to have the field. So we've been doing, I feel, pretty well. We started with the row of forts that you see up the sort of middle of the zone there, and we pushed forward, we got pushed back, and we've been pushing forward, and the progress through the map is really, really slow at this point. And that's the nature of the Zenobia garrison meta. There's probably never been a better time to take a city rally with a Zenobia on your wall. Theodora also really strong. There's still an unbelievable amount of our KvK left, a ton of battling. Maybe I'll stream some of it tomorrow. I think people were really enjoying that, so maybe I'll get back into that groove. It's just been really, really crazy. So cheers, Negan, to your successful defense, to our allies for coming to Negan's aid. What I mean, like, he wouldn't have asked for it, but I think he definitely benefited profoundly from it. And man, here's to the fighting ahead, because this is probably still just heating up. If you enjoyed this video, throw a like on here, subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next, and until next time, you have fun smashing the kingdom.